So now test. Now that I've given you the whole thing, all the cards are on the table, you are very clear what is actual seeing, what is seeing through an image. Yeah. You are clear that true insight is a prerequisite for actual seeing. And when you see the rasa, there is simply the wiping away of the now. No concepts, no words, no labels, no stories. All this is very, very clear. If the immediacy of the ending of the I, me, mine has been seen by you and it is clear in your seeing, you will understand the verses. Again, warning. Hearing these 4 verses might feel, oh, I've heard this before. No, that was another level. When jnana was translated as wisdom, that was the level. Now jnana is translated as the self. This is a higher level of the similar sounding points. Is this clear? Verse 1. Here, what is he referring to? He's not referring to the sense of I or the witness consciousness or the I thought. No. He is referring to the pure consciousness, the primordial awareness, the higher witness, the Paramakash, the beingness, the universal I. He says that the pure consciousness does not change, and one does not need to be told this, for one knows it clearly. So, you need to check, do I know this clearly? Knowing clearly here does not mean intellectual knowing. It comes from seeing, without a center, without an observer, without an attender. When there is no center, then only can you enter the rasa, abide as the rasa, observe the rasa, wipe away the now. Again, the next arising of the rasa arises and the process continues. And you're still abiding as the now, without getting pulled into I, me, mine. Then only there is seeing, and only if there is seeing, there is this seeing that the pure consciousness, the background, the substratum of it all, that does not change, cannot change. Then a higher level recognition happens. You stop labeling thought as thought. You see it as I, the primordial awareness, the beingness, the unchanging I, the background itself. It is an I without a me. It is an I without a mine. It is an infinite background. Your homework question for myself from verse 1. Do I recognize the I devoid of a me? The I devoid of a mine? If I recognize this universal I, which is devoid of a me and mine, which is devoid of labels of perception, sensation, thought, and feeling, only if I really see it, then I see verse 2 as well. Verse 2. Right? This is detailing the rasa, as if we are going into the rasa, entering it and detailing it. It's clearly outlining that this I is persistent, permanent, ceaseless. The primordial awareness, the higher witness, the pure consciousness, the universal I. It's permanent. It is there when there is thought. It is there when there is no thought. It is there when there is feeling. It is there when there is no feeling. It is there when there is sensation. It is there when there is no sensation. It is there when there is perception of sight. It is there when there is no perception of sight. It is there when there is perception of sound. It is there when there is no perception of sound. It is there when there is perception of smell. It is there when there is no perception of smell. It is there when there is perception of taste. It is there when there is no perception of taste. It is there when there is perception of touch. It is there when there is no perception of touch. This is the I without the me. It is the I without the mind. Because now when only it is there, it means there is no thought, no feeling, no sensation, no perception of sight, no perception of sound, no perception of smell, no perception of taste, no perception of touch. There is only the I without the me. This is very subtle to understand. Usually you categorize I and me together. You attribute it to one and the same. Here, I is the higher witness, the me is the lower witness. It is the higher witness only. There is no lower witness. The I without the me. The lower witness was just a stepping stone for bringing me up to this level of seeing. Now that I am here, now that I have reached here, I have to let go of the previous step, and the previous step was the existence of a lower witness. I, me, mine. It never existed. There never was a person. There was never a me. It was only an idea, a belief. Is this clear? So this is all the I without a me. Perception of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thought, feeling, sensation will still continue to arise and fall. They are vichara, remember. They are not vasana. The me was the vasana. The belief in the me was the vasana. Now there is no more identification with perception, sensation, thought and feeling with the vichara. So the vasana idea has collapsed. The idea of vasana, I, me, mine, this was born from tadatma, from identification. Then that vasana gave birth to stories of time, space, doer, experiencer, and the whole dance of I, me, mine caused suffering. Now, when I come to this level, I recognize no, to begin with, this me is a lie. It's a story, it doesn't exist. When this idea collapses, there is the I without the me. The me collapses, vasana collapses, time, space, doership, experiencership, all collapses, suffering collapses. There's the recognition, there is the pure consciousness, the primordial awareness, the universal I, devoid of vasana. Vasana never belonged to it. This universal I is just the background. And the background is permanent, it's constant, it's persistent, it's always there. Yeah? At this level, the true jnani who has recognized this as the self, he abides as the self, as the universal I. He is untouched by perception, sensation, thought, feeling. Only arisings, they get wiped out. They get wiped out. How can they affect me? They get wiped out. So remember, perception of taste arises in this person, so-called person that has also arisen. All of it gets negated. The idea of action arises in this person. This person might do the action and the action gets wiped. It's negated. So everything that arises along with this person, its action, its desire, its experience, its crying, its wailing, its anger, its happiness, everything is seen as getting wiped away. So there is no identification with it, no story to retain. Simply silence, simply that's it. So there is no blame taken on and no praise also granted. You cannot do that. You cannot say this is my story anymore. You cannot say this is my family. You cannot say this is my money. All belong to this person. This person got wiped out in that moment. The idea of his money got wiped off. The idea of his family got wiped off. The idea of name, fame got wiped off. There's nothing. This is the shunyata that the Buddha was talking about. This is what I mean when I use the word no-thingness. And this no-thingness is persistent, untouched, permanent. It is the substratum. Is it clear? If this is very clear, verse 3 will be very clear. When you see this as the persistent, permanent, constant background, as the constant substratum, the I without a me, that is constant, how can there be change in it? Change would imply that means it's not persistent, it's not constant, it's not permanent. Clear? So there cannot be a change, and calling it the doer or enjoyer means calling it, see, a doing starts, it peaks, and then the doing comes to a trough, which is the valley, and it disappears. Again, an experience arises, appears, it peaks, and that experience troughs or it valleys, it disappears. So doing and experiencing are waves. Saying that the permanent I is the doer is saying that it is not permanent. Yeah, permanent means it cannot change. Do you see this? The moment you say it is the doer or it is the experiencer, that implies change. Yeah. Again, don't try to see through the concept of changelessness that Ekta or Atmananda is explaining to you. Attempt to see the rasa and recognize there is no change here. If you see yourself as that persistent, ceaseless, desireless continuum, you will see it as changeless. The arising that appears and disappears is only an idea. For example, when you watch a movie, there is only an idea that the hero said something bad to the heroine and the heroine is feeling all sad and she's crying and there is a story going on. And you go to the white screen, tear it. Is there a hero and heroine behind? Is there a real story? Is there any change in the background? No, the background is changeless. There is no thing happening here. Therefore, we come to a higher level now. See, in the same chapter, he takes you leaps and bounds. He's saying there are no arisings. Arisings do not exist because arisings would imply that there is a change. Change would imply that this background is a changing background. Changing background means it is not permanent. But that is not true. In my seeing, I have come to the recognition that the rasa is permanent. Do you see it? So the prerequisite is you have seen that the rasa is permanent. Then only can you recognize that arisings do not exist. They don't even appear and disappear. They are not. It's simply entertainment, movie going on. Enjoy. It's fun. Otherwise it would be so boring. If there was no masala, it would be so boring, no? Good fun. Enjoy. This substratum, this background is permanent, non-changing. It's a non-doer. It simply is. It doesn't have to be a non-doer. When we use non-doer, we are saying it in comparison to the idea of a doer. Yeah? It is just meant for communication. You don't need to label it as that. You simply see the rasa as it is. Like the space of this room. Just because there's Advaita knowledge going on, the space of this room doesn't say I'm an Advaitin. Or I'm the host of the Advaitin session. There is no doership. The space of the room simply is. Yeah. It cannot say I'm enjoying the Advaita knowledge. No, it's not an experiencer. Yet we don't say that the space is a non-doer and non-experiencer. It simply is. Do you see this point? It's a very subtle point. Even calling it a non-doer and non-experiencer is a label given just for the sake of communication. But when you see, you don't see the space as a non-doer and non-experiencer. How funny is that? You simply recognize the space. It is like that only. The primordial awareness, the beingness, the universal I, that permanent, unchanging I simply is. Simply is. This point is clear? Homework for you. Do I see that change is not a possibility? Hence, an arising is not a possibility. The arising is not. There is simply the rasa. Do I see this? That is why in this verse he says, no more evidence is required for the one who clearly sees. No evidence is required. That it cannot be the doer and cannot be the experiencer. In your self-evaluation, check, do I really see this yet? Or am I seeing through the concept created by Ekta's words? Or am I seeing through the image created by Atmananda's verses? Or do I really see the rasa? This is the question for self-evaluation. That brings us to verse 4. This is the key wisdom pointer in this chapter. Now you check, right now, do you have the feeling that this Advaita class is going on, everything is happening? Do you have the feeling that I am doing something? Do you recognize you don't have this feeling that I am listening? Only now that Ekta brings it up, you go to that recognition, oh, I am listening to the Advaita knowledge. Do you see it? Before Ekta brought this up, I didn't feel like I was doing something or I was listening to something or I'm attending a session. This recognition was not there. Is this correct? In your own experience, is this correct for everyone? Yeah? This is the key wisdom pointer. Whenever some activity is happening through the body-mind, there is an easiness with which it flows. Irrespective of physical activity of the body-mind or a mental activity of the body-mind, there is a natural easiness with which it flows. There is no feeling, I am doing this. A thought also doesn't arise, I am attending this. The action is simply happening. What does this mean? That usually, as a natural thing, there is no identification with the action. There is no grabbing of the action. There is no tadatma with the action. There is no ownership with an action. This is natural to me. Question for you, do I recognize this naturalness? Do I see it? Yeah, let's take a simple example. Suppose I give you homework. You have to sit and write this homework and email it to Ekta. You are sitting at your desk and you're working on that long email. The body feels the urge to relieve itself. In order to respond to it, it gets up, goes to the restroom, completes its task without claiming doership of the task. It returns back to the chair and continues to write the email. Have you noticed this? Yeah. You're sitting and writing the email. Now the body feels the urge to eat. In order to respond to it, it gets up, goes from the chair, goes to the refrigerator, gets a fruit out, comes back to the desk without claiming ownership of doership here. Without any claim of doership, it's sitting, it's munching that apple and typing the email. Again, munching the apple, again typing the email. There is a flow and easiness with which everything is just moving. Have you recognized this? Now recognize it with a higher level of task, like a family member asking you, where did you keep this particular dish? Family member is looking for it. In order to respond, you get up, go to the kitchen, give him the dish, you come back, to your chair and you start typing your email again. There is no claim of doership. Only when there is an identification, there is jumping in. Only when the family member brings up, you didn't do this right, why do you have to keep it in this place, why didn't you keep it in this place? Now there is an identification with where you kept the dish. And the whole conflict begins. Have you noticed this? Yeah. So what does this mean? When there is no identification, there is no conflict, that is actually my natural state. The actions are flowing with easiness even in the body-mind. Only when there is jumping in, grasping, I, me, mine tendency has come up, the natural flow of vichara is interrupted by vasana. When I don't interrupt the natural flow, I recognize, oh, vichara has its own natural flow. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thought, feeling, sensation. They do not claim doership. They do not say, I, me, mine. Suffering begins because of the false assumption of I, me, mine. Yeah? So when I stay, just learn the skill of being and allowing the rasa to wipe away the arising, I learn this higher level of knowledge also, that it is my natural state. It is natural to me. The naturalness of the flow is revealed. That is why Atmananda says that at the time that something is being done, there is no thought of feeling that I am doing it. This is the proof that one is not the doer. In fact, there is no doer. The naturalness is like a stream. It is flowing of its own accord. Buddha called it bhavanga. I'm drawing a parallel between Advaita and Buddha here. Buddha called it bhavanga. It's a natural stream. It is flowing of its own accord. There is no doer there. There is no doing also. It appears to be happening, but it is only knowledge of a happening. For example, on the movie screen, a hero is saying something to the heroine. There appears to be something happening, but it is only knowledge of a situation happening. This is the meaning of the previous verse where we said there is no arising. There is only knowledge of an arising. Nothing happening there in reality. When there is nothing happening, there is obviously no doing and no experiencing. When there is no doing and no experiencing, there is no doer, there is no experiencer. So you ask yourself, self-evaluation question. Have I recognized the absence of a sense of doership while doing a task? Please experiment with this. After this session, you'll go back to the family, you'll go back to the kitchen, you'll go back to talking, or you'll go out, exercise, spend the rest of your Sunday doing something. Moment to moment, do I recognize that there is no sense of doership? This is simply happening. And can I even see one higher level? It's not happening. There's only knowledge of happening. There's no arising. There's simply knowledge of arising. And then, can I come to a higher level and recognize every arising getting wiped away by the rasa shows me that it's not even knowledge. There is nothing. There is shunyata. Can I see all these stages in every action that you do? Speaking to your family member, gossiping with your neighbor, exercising in the gym, going for a walk, whatever you're doing today, grocery shopping. In every task, do I recognize these different levels? Can I come to the point where there is simply shunyata, nothing happening? Again, the previous shunyata that you saw was only again trying to see through the concept created by Ekta or by Buddha in my mind. This is another level. Can I see it from this level? Seeing it from that level is not equal to seeing it from this level, because at that level, jnana was wisdom. At this level, jnana is the self. Again, if the mind says, oh, I saw it, I saw nothingness long ago. No. That is the moment mind has created a story, there are labels, I, me, mine has come up, grasp that story. I am a spiritual Advaita. You see the whole flow of story, right? If this recognition is there, then verse 5 will be very, very clear. This is the second key sutra of this chapter. Most important. First was, while I'm doing an activity, there is never a sense of I am doing it. Similarly, while I'm experiencing something, there is no sense of I am experiencing it. Do I recognize that first key sutra? Now, the second key sutra is, doership and experiencership are always claimed in retrospect. And just because I claim to have done that thing, that cannot make me a doer. Do I have the courage to accept this truth? I cannot even claim to be an Advaitin because I am not. There is simply an arising of that Advaitin knowledge and simply an arising of that level of understanding. I am not. Then how can I be the one that understands it? I be the one that knows it? It's not personal. Can I recognize this truth? That, see, I claim this in retrospect. I claim this in retrospect. Claiming in retrospect does not make me a doer. Please add to the same, claiming an experience in retrospect cannot make me an experiencer. Both are very important points. So just add to the sutra as your own addition. Recognize that once this claim has happened, it is too late. You have already moved from actual seeing to identification. The I, me, mine has become pronounced. It has claimed. It says, I did a great job or I failed at this task. The ownership of success and failure is claimed passionately. Recognize this. This passion is coming from where? Oh, I'm looking for validation. I'm looking for confirmation. I'm looking for, again, an affirmation that I am. I exist. See, I am. The moment this comes up, you have to be able to recognize this. These are very subtle things, where this seeking for validation is there and where it is not, where there is simply silence. You have to start recognizing it. And you have to recognize, oh, I'm claiming ownership of this. Claiming ownership in retrospect does not make me a doer, does not make me an experiencer. When the body mind was doing the task, there was no feeling that I am doing it. Now I'm claiming it in retrospect. There it will fall flat on its face, and you have to have the courage to allow every success and failure fall flat on its face. You see what I'm saying? I'm telling you to pick up that sword of Jnana and kill your Kali. So you recognize every time this false claim of ownership comes up and kill it. You're not really doing anything. You're just allowing the rasa to wipe away. Ekta's just being emphatic, using Ramakrishna Paramhansa's story to tell me to kill my Kali. But you're not really doing. You're just allowing the rasa to wipe it away. Verse 6. This will be a recognition. This is the way you recognize it. What do you recognize? There's that intense feeling associated with the recognition that there is no doer and no experiencer. It is an intense feeling. That intense feeling removes that bondage of this is mine, this is me, this is happening to me, or this has been done by me. All this is bondage. That intense feeling, moment to moment, dissipates this bondage. And my real nature comes to light, that I am the rasa. There is simply the flow, and there is nothing else. So what is this intense feeling he's speaking of? This intense feeling of operating without a center. This can be felt. Yeah, it is a very strong feeling where there is no center, no owner. And when there is no owner, there is no claim. Yeah, and you will notice that this intense feeling of no center is there all the time. It's not that it's there for 10 minutes when Ekta explains it and it's gone the rest of the day. No. It is there continuously all the time. It is the natural state. That is the intense feeling of the naturalness of being without a center. You simply see it. Simply see it. Now, what is simply seeing? Simply seeing is the act of emptying out the center. The viper of the rasa is continuously emptying out. You simply see that it is emptying out. Simply seeing is the act of emptying out the center. What was there in the center? That false I, its false claim of me and mine. That emptying out the center is the key, and that has an intense feeling to it. You get there just by seeing. Don't concentrate. Don't know choicelessly, but simply see. See without a seer. Attend without an attender. Observe without an observer. No prejudice, no criticism, no opinion, no decision, no interference of thought at all. Simply see. Perceiving itself is seeing, pure perceiving. Buddha called it Vijnana. Yeah, where there is no sanya, that is Vijnana, pure Vijnana. Simply seeing without labeling. No, I like, I dislike, this is pleasant, that is unpleasant. No. Simply seeing, pure Vijnana. In Vijnana, in pure seeing, in pure perceiving, there is no sanya, which is labeling. I like, I dislike. Yeah? There is no Vedana. You will not feel pleasantness or unpleasantness when an arising appears or disappears. There is no Vedana, there is no Sanya. And hence there is no Sankhara. Sankhara is the impression created by the marriage of Vedana and Sanya. Vedana is the sensation. Yeah, Sanya is the opinion or decision, I like or I dislike. There is no marriage between Sanya and Vedana. Hence there is no Sankhara or impression created. These three drop. Vedana, Sanya and Sankhara drop. There is only pure Vijnana. Is this clear? Pure perceiving without labeling anything. It will leave one without any support. There is no validation. There is no confirmation, no affirmation for the false I to stand. Because it seeks validation. It seeks confirmation for my existence. See, I exist, I am. There'll be no support left. In the absence of that validation, in absence of that confirmation and affirmation, that false I, me, mine ends. It disappears. It dissolves. The emptying of the center happens. There is no center anymore. Clear? How did this emptying out happen? Simply by perceiving. Vijnana in Buddha's language. Simply by seeing. Seeing is the word used on the Advaita path, and Vijnana is the word used on Buddha's path. See, you can see they go hand in hand. They are not two different paths at all, just two different languages. That's it. Seeing itself is the act of emptying out the contents such that there is no center. Now there is observation without an observer, attention without an attender, seeing without a seer. And there is an intense feeling in itself, in this observation without observer, attention without attender, seeing without seer. There is an intense feeling to it. Now you dive deeper into that. And that reveals there is no doer, no experiencer. There is simply the picture of happening. There is no happening. Picture of hero and heroine. There is no hero and heroine there. This begets relief. Relief from the burden of doership. Oh, I'm not the doer. I'm not the experiencer. I have never done anything. I have never experienced anything because I am not. I am not. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to experience. The burden of doership and experiencership naturally sheds away. All bondages drop away. Yeah? You only recognize Shunyata, the viper of the now. Shunyata, the rasa. And it's infinity. It's beyondness. Infinity. That is how the true nature is revealed. That completes chapter 9.